Why being liked is a trap. We live in a culture obsessed with being liked. Social media thrives on likes, followers, and shares, those little dopamine hits that tell us, yes, people approve of you. At work, we're told to be team players. In our personal lives, we're encouraged to avoid conflict and keep things smooth. The message is constant: if people like you, you'll succeed. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Being liked is fragile, conditional, and fleeting. It doesn't build power. It doesn't build security. It doesn't even build real loyalty. If you want to stand unshaken in the storms of life, it's not likes you should be chasing. It's respect. This is where Machiavelli enters the conversation. Writing in Renaissance Italy, a time of betrayal, shifting alliances, and ruthless competition, he asked a question that still hits us today. Is it better to be loved or feared? His answer was clear. If you must choose, always choose fear, because respect rooted in fear lasts longer than affection rooted in love. It was a radical, even scandalous idea then, and it remains controversial now, but it forces us to confront a question most people avoid: what's the cost of wanting to be liked? If you're watching this, chances are you felt that pull, the frustration of being overlooked, underestimated, or taken advantage of because you were too focused on pleasing others. This video isn't about turning you into a tyrant. It's about showing you why Machiavelli's wisdom still matters today. Respect isn't soft. It's not about being popular. It's about strength, boundaries, and commanding a presence that others cannot dismiss. To unlock the dark power of respect, you first need to let go of the obsession with being liked. Machiavelli's core philosophy. Niccolò Machiavelli wasn't writing in a classroom vacuum. He was a statesman in Florence, exiled and humiliated when his political faction fell out of power. He saw firsthand how fragile alliances were, how easily friends became enemies, and how quickly fortunes changed. When he wrote The Prince, it wasn't an idealist's vision of leadership. It was survival advice for rulers living in a brutal, treacherous world. His book remains infamous precisely because it strips away illusions about human nature. At the heart of Machiavelli's philosophy lies one principle: people are fickle. They will love you when it benefits them, and abandon you when it doesn't. A leader who builds power only on affection is standing on sand. By contrast, fear and respect are more solid foundations. Machiavelli doesn't argue for cruelty's sake. He argues that rulers must be willing to sacrifice being liked if they want to endure. The dark power isn't about sadism. It's about clarity, realism, and courage to act against the grain of popularity. Seen this way, Machiavelli wasn't just writing for kings and dukes. His insights apply wherever power is at play: workplaces, politics, social hierarchies, even personal relationships. When he says it's safer to be feared than loved, what he's really saying is, don't gamble your future on the shaky currency of approval. Respect, whether born of fear, competence, or authority, buys stability in ways love never can. The fragility of being liked. Being liked feels good, but it's built on sand. Why? Because liking is conditional. People like you when you fit their expectations, when you entertain them, when you give them what they want. The moment you stop, that affection dissolves. Think of celebrities who fall out of favor overnight. Yesterday's idol is tomorrow's villain. If your foundation is likability, your power is at the mercy of other people's moods. Worse still, likability invites manipulation. When people know you crave approval, they exploit it. Colleagues pile work on the nice co-worker who never says no. Friends push boundaries. knowing you'll forgive them to keep the peace. Leaders who try to be liked by everyone end up making weak compromises that satisfy no one. The pursuit of being liked becomes a leash others use to control you. And here's the sharpest edge. When you chase being liked, you suppress your true self. You sand down your edges, mute your opinions, and hide your strength because it might offend someone. Over time, that erodes not just your power but your identity. Being liked is a mask. Respect, by contrast, allows you to stand unmasked. People may not always enjoy you, but they can't ignore you. The durability of respect. Respect outlasts affection because it is grounded in strength, not sentiment. People respect consistency, competence, and boundaries, qualities that endure regardless of personal feelings. Unlike being liked, which depends on how others feel about you in the moment, respect is anchored in what you are and what you deliver. Consider a strict teacher. Students may complain about the workload, dislike the harsh grading, even fear the stern tone. But years later, when those same students succeed because of the discipline that was drilled into them, they speak with admiration. They respect what that teacher stood for, even if they didn't like them at the time. Respect matures. It deepens over time, even in the absence of affection. Respect also creates boundaries. When people respect you, they think twice before exploiting you, lying to you, or taking you for granted. Respect commands restraint. Being liked, by contrast, often tempts others to push further, to see how much they can take from you. Respect sets the terms of engagement. It says, "I may not be your favorite, but you will not dismiss me." The psychology of liking versus respecting. Modern psychology backs Machiavelli's instinct. Social scientists distinguish between two kinds of influence: warmth and competence. Warmth earns affection. People see you as approachable and likable. Competence earns respect. People see you as capable and reliable. Research shows that while warmth creates quick connections, competence creates lasting trust. Without competence, warmth collapses. Without warmth, competence can still command authority. There's also the question of social dynamics. People like those who mirror their views, flatter their egos, or pose no threat. But respect often comes from the opposite, from standing firm, disagreeing when necessary, and refusing to be swayed. In psychology, this is known as the status paradox. Those who care less about being liked often gain more respect, while those who chase approval end up respected least. Neurologically, liking is tied to fleeting emotional rewards. Respect, on the other hand, is linked to deeper structures of memory and judgment. We remember people who shaped us, who stood their ground, who made an impression that couldn't be erased. That's why respect, once earned, tends to linger long after feelings of like or dislike fade. The dark power of fear. Machiavelli's most controversial claim is that fear is more reliable than love. Fear, he argues, is in your control, while love is in the control of others. People may stop loving you whenever they please, but fear holds steady because it is rooted in consequences. If people know crossing you has a cost, they act differently around you. Of course, fear doesn't mean constant cruelty. Machiavelli warns against being hated, which is dangerous. The key is calculated fear, enough to command respect, not enough to breed rebellion. A leader who enforces discipline, sets clear consequences, and never allows betrayal to go unchecked cultivates a fear that strengthens rather than undermines their authority. This is the dark power of respect. It recognizes that humans are not naturally loyal, they are self-interested. Fear leverages that self-interest. It channels behavior in predictable ways. When combined with fairness and competence, fear becomes not terror but order. The Machiavellian insight is that respect rooted in consequence will always outlast affection rooted in comfort. Respect in leadership. Throughout history, the leaders who left the deepest marks were rarely the ones most liked. They were the ones most respected. Consider Alexander the Great. His men often feared his relentless ambition and his demand for absolute discipline, but they followed him across continents because his competence inspired awe. Or, look at Winston Churchill. He was not universally loved in Britain during World War II. Many saw him as gruff, difficult, and uncompromising. Yet his leadership, rooted in a refusal to bend, earned him respect that saved a nation. The same principle applies in business. Steve Jobs was famously abrasive, impatient, and even cruel at times. People didn't work for Apple because they liked Jobs. They worked for him because they respected his vision and knew his uncompromising standards produced greatness. Respect turned Apple into one of the most influential companies in the world. A leader who tries to be liked by everyone waters down their vision. A leader who commands respect bends reality to match their vision. Even in smaller contexts, the lesson holds. A manager who sets clear expectations, enforces accountability, and refuses to tolerate mediocrity may not be loved in the office, but their team will deliver results. A manager who wants to be everyone's friend risks being ignored, manipulated, or undermined. Leadership isn't about popularity contests, it's about authority, trust, and the power that only respect can sustain. Respect in everyday life. Machiavelli's insights are not confined to palaces and boardrooms. They shape how we live our everyday lives. Take friendships. When you always say yes to avoid conflict, you may be liked, but you will not be respected. Friends who truly value you respect your boundaries. They understand when you say no. If they only like you when you serve their needs, what you have isn't friendship, it's exploitation. The same applies in romantic relationships. Many people bend themselves into pretzels to be liked, hiding flaws, avoiding arguments, or tolerating disrespect to keep the peace. But this erodes self-worth. Healthy relationships are built on respect first, affection second. A partner may not always like what you say or do, but if they respect you, the bond has depth and resilience. Without respect, love becomes shallow and conditional. Even in casual interactions, respect outweighs likability. Think of a teacher, doctor, or mentor you've encountered. You may not have liked them personally. They may have been stern, blunt, or intimidating. Yet, if they were skilled and honest, you respected them, and that respect shaped you. In daily life, being respected ensures people treat you with seriousness. Being liked, at best, ensures temporary smiles. The dangers of misusing power. Of course, Machiavelli's philosophy comes with a warning. Respect gained through fear can easily tip into hatred if abused. Tyrants throughout history, from Stalin to countless corporate dictators, relied too heavily on intimidation, crossing the thin line between respect and resentment. Fear without fairness corrodes trust. Instead of commanding respect, it breeds silent rebellion. Machiavelli himself cautioned rulers to avoid cruelty for its own sake. His version of fear was strategic, not sadistic. A leader who punishes betrayal swiftly but rewards loyalty generously earns both respect and stability. A leader who rules with random cruelty, however, becomes despised. Hatred is dangerous because it fuels unity among the oppressed. People may tolerate a respected leader they dislike, but they will eventually rise against one they hate. The lesson for us is balance. Unlocking the dark power of respect doesn't mean becoming ruthless at all costs. It means being willing to sacrifice popularity for authority, while still guarding against tyranny. Respect rooted in strength is powerful. Respect rooted in cruelty is brittle. Knowing the difference is the line between power that lasts and power that self-destructs. Modern applications of Machiavellian thinking. Machiavelli's wisdom is surprisingly modern. In politics, we see how leaders who chase approval ratings often collapse under pressure. By contrast, those who make tough, unpopular decisions may face criticism in the moment, but gain long-term respect. Abraham Lincoln was hated by half the country during the Civil War. Today he is remembered as one of the greatest leaders in history. Popularity fades, respect endures. In business, the same dynamic plays out. Social media influencers chase likes, shares, and views, the modern currency of being liked. But how many are remembered once the algorithm shifts? Compare that with entrepreneurs, inventors, and builders who command respect through results. Their work outlasts trends. Respect builds legacies, likes build noise. Even in digital culture, where likability seems everything, respect still reigns. Think of voices online who may not be universally liked but are always taken seriously. They command influence not because people enjoy them, but because people recognize their authority or insight. The Machiavellian truth cuts through centuries. Being liked is cheap. Being respected is priceless. Conclusion: the dark power unlocked. So why stop being liked? Because being liked is a trap. It seduces you into dependency, into molding yourself for others' approval. It chains your power to other people's moods. Machiavelli saw through this illusion 500 years ago, and the lesson hasn't aged a day. If you want stability, authority, and impact, you must unlock the dark power of respect. Respect is harder to win than affection, but once won, it is harder to lose. It demands strength, boundaries, and consistency. It requires the courage to disappoint others, to enforce consequences, to walk away from approval. It asks you to trade popularity for presence, comfort for command. But in that trade, you gain something far greater, power that lasts. The world will always dangle the carrot of being liked in front of you. Social media, workplaces, relationships, they all whisper the same lie: if everyone likes you, you'll succeed. But the truth is harsher and more liberating. You don't need everyone to like you. You need people to respect you. And when they do, you no longer live at the mercy of their fleeting affections. You live with authority. You live with clarity. You live, as Machiavelli might say, on solid ground.